Good morning. Welcome to Presence of Light with charlierivermanbergeron. It's always a pleasure to be here with you each week and share parts of my journey, which I know relate to your journey through what we call life as human beings. We are these amazing beings, and we're beginning to understand ourselves on even greater levels, which sometimes can be painful, sometimes it can be exciting, and sometimes we just need to pull ourselves back in from wherever we are and ground. So I'm sure that each and every one of you are experiencing all of those attributes, and they're perfectly normal. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not going crazy. You're not going to fall apart. You're not going to blow up. All of those human thought forms that we've been trained to say, well, if you do this or do that, here is the result. Today's topic is actions, options, destiny. And those three words came up this morning. Not that I was thinking about them, but they came up in a procession of cards that I pulled because I didn't know what to present today. And I said, well, I'm going to allow it to follow guidance. Show me which cards. My fingers will find exactly the ones I need to imprint the message for today. So good morning, Gloria. Good morning, the others who are appearing. I see 24 up there. And bless you all on this beautiful sunny day, as you can see in the background. I've added a new light so that I'm a little more visible. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. However, here I am. The head's not shining too much, so we're good. So here we go. Actions, actions, actions. What do actions mean for us, especially in this time of amazing activity? So here, activity and actions both begin with the word act. What is it that we do when we act? Well, most people think of actors, and we're putting on a play, or we're giving a show, or I'm acting now, doing something. Yet, most of that is done unconsciously. It's done automatically. And we've lived most of our lives in a frame of mind where you do what you're expected to do, or what you have been taught to do, or what you have been programmed to do. And you act out all of those scenarios. Right now, we're being faced with the opportunity to set those aside and ask ourselves, how do I, the individual I, seek to act in my everyday life? And what would happen if I acted in my truth? How would it affect the world around me? So those are thoughts that I play with. I'm sure many of you play with, maybe not at that level, maybe very simply. But the message really is how do we both act as individuals and then interact with others who are acting as individuals without judgment, without anger, without frustration. Not easy, is it? So the question arose to me, do any of us really have a plan of action? Or do we just go through the motions and the plans come up momentarily and for short moments in time? But do we have a larger plan of action that focuses on the outcome of our planet and each other? And this is important right now because we are such a diverse creation of beings that in all our uniqueness, if we could gather that together in a plan of action with a majority of agreement, I mean, there'll always be points of disagreement. What would the possible outcome of that be? So I ask you to think about that. What would the possible outcome be if we as a collective tapped into our positive thinking, acted upon it, and embraced others who are acting upon it as well? Many of us do that now in social groups on, social media. But I find myself, I'm not doing it so much in personal relationships, or I'm not doing it in the community groups that I'm belonging to, and that I find I get caught up in the drama or the misinterpretation of what's being said. And I find myself pulling back and say, no, I can't say this here. No, I can't express this here. Even though many of these people are very enlightened and very intelligent, I would be looked at as a nutcase. I mean, basically. And I think many of us have suffered that most of our lives because we're the ones who are on the cutting edge. This is our action, and this is possibly our destiny, to be on that cutting edge. And it's sometimes a very lonely place, even though we gather in groups. Each one of us uniquely are receiving information right now that is sometimes very strange and very hard to understand, and it takes a while for us to process it. So how can we best tap into that, process it, and then find a way to share it with others? I think this is an important time in the history of humanity for this to really take a foothold. So I wrote a little note as I was typing out the words on the thing. And this was what came through me was, our presence is our destiny. Our presence is our destiny. To be fully present in all aspects of our divine self in service. So last week I talked about beings in service, that we're beings in service. And what does that look like? How do we embrace that? And I think the message is, it doesn't matter so much how you embrace it, but that you embrace it. And many times chaos and pain and suffering is going to enter our lives, and it's going to be the distractor field. I can't address this now. I'm in pain, or I got this to do, or I got that to do. And I think the message for us now is, in the middle of all of that, we can still find that divine self in us and allow it to come out, even if it's just opening the door for someone. Doesn't matter. Even if we're in a wheelchair, we could maybe open the door for someone. This is the thing that we're beginning to learn, is that our limitations are not as limiting as they think we are. So the question is, how do we express that? How do we express that and what it will cost us. Because the other side of the coin in life is there's a price you pay for everything. What will that price be? What will it look like? Will it be financial? Will it be material? Will it be emotional? So the first card today that I drew was action. Action. Oh yeah, okay, I forgot. It's action. It's one of these. I love to pull those cards first. And look at this. This is the Orion Nebula. I mean, this is just an amazing, amazing scope of colors and shapes and activity and action. This is an action galaxy. This is really, you can see the action. You can feel the action in it. It's really just amazing to look at this and say, oh, that's boring. There's nothing happening. This is happening. This is happening. This is who we are. We are action. We are happening. The message of it is, I know Source has given me intuition and divine guidance. I act for my good and the good of others. And that carries on the theme of most of my talks, is how do we express that? The affirmations read, I take charge of my life. Next one is, I do not worry about the future. The next, when I see an injustice, I will act on it as if it's for everyone's highest good and extend a hand to help others. When action is required, I will respond with help from Source. I know the Creator has provided me with all I need. Today, I will create a paradise in my life. So first of all, I want to thank all of you who responded to my Facebook post from last week's show, where my intention wasn't to receive empathy or sympathy from anyone about my personal situation and that of my beloved, but to just further express that many of us are in some sort of state of pain and suffering. And we did nothing to deserve it, or we did nothing to consciously create that. And bless you all for all your comments and your information. And I love all of it. And I will follow it because you, as we as a collective, this is what we're about as beings in service, is to help each other, to give each other advice that's in a positive and loving manner. And you have honored me with that, with those words. I was still answering people this morning, and I will as long as people write in. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. It wasn't done for me to attract attention, and I feel very uncomfortable about that. But action, it was you in action. You took that action to be the beings in service you were. And what it did for me was it confirmed that what I talk about and what I try to express to others really makes a difference. So thank you, and you're so sweet. How do you deal with aggression towards yourself and towards people you love? I feel that action card. How do we deal with aggression, Samantha? That is probably the most challenging part of being who we are. It's part of being this kind and loving, welcoming, open heart and divine being, this being in service. is the minute we do that, the minute we show up, the opposite, the aggressive ones seem to we become an attractor field for them. And the reason I feel is that we become the mirror for what they really truly want to express in their lives, because that's who they are truly in their original creation. But they've deviated so far from it that seeing us being kind, compassionate, and loving reminds them that they're not. And they don't want to deal with they're not. It's much easier for them to attack us. And in that moment, we have to make that decision within ourselves as to the value of these people in our lives. And many of them are family members. They're our parents, they're our children. And that's a difficult challenge. And I can't answer for everyone. I've made my own choices, and many people criticize me over that. Yet in my heart, I know that I've made the right choice for me, because it's allowed me to grow in ways that if I kept listening to them and kept trying to justify with them what I was doing, all it was doing was holding me like an anchor at the bottom of the sea. And I would never have come to this point where I could talk so openly to others. So be kind to yourself and know that there'll always be somebody who is going to express and bring up that aggression. The key is, can we act non-aggressively when they do it? And what that does, it reflects our sovereignty. It reflects our new understanding of the power that we really have over illness, over aggression, over fear. Whatever is bothering us, it's coming to know that on some level, I have this power. It may be just this big right now, but I know if I don't do this, it'll never get any bigger. So I encourage you all, no matter what you're going through, to trust the action, trust the source of your being to guide you through this. And know that you do not deserve, on any level whatsoever, to be abused or to be fearful. Those are the rules of controlling others. And you're not to be controlled. You're a sovereign being, and the energies now are supporting our sovereignty. The next card I pulled was Life Purpose cards from Doreen Virtue. And I don't use this deck much often, but it happened to be on my shelf. And I looked and I said, no, that's the deck I'm supposed to pull. So here's this beautiful, very serene being. And the card reads options. And here's another, she's got the scales of balance in her hands, and she's got wings, so she's angelic. Both of them are angelic. On the front, she's an artist, and here she's carrying the scales of balance. And the message is, consider the career possibilities that are open to you. I don't know how many of you are seeking careers. I'm at the age where careers are not in my scope of desire. But many of you are in careers, and many of you have jobs. And I think this card is important is to take a deeper look at what you're doing in your life and ask yourself, how is this aligning with my heart's desire for what I want to do? I know when I was younger, my skills have always been to make things, to create things. I started off as a hairdresser, and it's creative, hairdresser. I went from a hairdresser to becoming a machinist and working with metal. From working with metal, I went to becoming a custom woodworker and working with wood. So I've always had this passion for creating something with my hands. And I followed that, and it has guided me. It didn't make me extremely wealthy. It could have if I wanted it to. But I was always able to go to work and know that on some level I was fulfilling a purpose that I didn't understand. That purpose I understand now is as a creator being. I could take something from nothing and turn it into something else. It's magic at its basic form, transmuting, transforming. And this was what I felt. And in you, each one of you, you may have that same passion, but in a different way. And when I look at that now, I say, what is our creator? Is that not the image of creator? What are we creating? Not just with our minds, but with our hands, with our actions. So the card of the options, consider the career possibilities. I would say consider the career possibilities that align with creation. Because when we're sometimes stuck in an office and it's meaningless and you're doing the same thing. I've had manufacturing jobs where they were mindless and boring and repetitive to the point where you became a machine, and to the point where it destroyed part of my body because it was always moving in the same pattern over and over again, day in, day out. But when we're free to create, we move here, we move there. The flow of our experience becomes much more open. So look for the options. Look for the options that will open that gateway to the greater thing of your destiny. What is our destiny? We don't know if we don't consider all the career possibilities that are open to us. Many of you know the teachings of Abraham from Esther and Jerry Hicks. So I'll put it in this way. So this is a cute little card. They're very sweet cards. And the message is, there is enough room for all ideas and experiences. I hear the word unlimitedness. We're unlimited in what we get to choose. We really limit ourselves based on what other people tell us. And we come up with these great ideas, sometimes real crazy ones, which hopefully, we really don't want them to become fruit in reality because they're bizarre. But we know that's dreaming out into the wildest part of ourselves, and we now have to come back in. So what really are our options are anything between here and there, the wildest dream and the dullest moment. Abraham saying, there is enough room for all ideas and experiences. unlimitedness, the ability to tap into our unlimitedness. And I'll read this. From your non-physical perspective, you understand that there is room enough in this expansive universe for all manner of thought and experience. You have every intention of being, or you had every intention of being deliberate about your own life experience and your own creations, but you had no intentions of trying to control the creation of others. Isn't it sad how when we reach out to create our dreams and our visions, we have so many of us that are telling us, you can't do that, you're hurting me. You can't do that. That's against all we've talked about. That is, and they, unfortunately, because of their inability to see your unlimitedness, they want to hold you where they are comfortable. Right now, it's about we becoming comfortable with who we truly are as these beings that can see far beyond, as Abraham, our non-physical perspective. Dana, balance, my word. Yes, and it's bringing that into balance. No, we can't live all the time at that multidimensional level and still be physical. One day, perhaps we will be able to. But right now, the energies don't support that. So right now, we're caught between this third dimensional energy, which is very heavy and dense and holds us like glue to patterns and limits our options, and has created this paradigm of control, the control of others, which as we look around, we know doesn't work. We've known it for a long time. And we've been made to fear trying to express our disparity with it. But now is a time not so much to stand up and become the wall. The time now is for us to let go. To let go and reach for those little tiny moments of upliftment in our lives that says, oh, I think I'm going to read that book. Everybody tells me, oh, don't read that book because they put crazy ideas in your head. Or I'm going to go see that movie. I know it's a heartbreaker, but somehow I feel like I need a good cry. Reach out to you, to this vast you, and embrace it as best you can. Set up your rules and guides and energy fields so that those that you know who are going to come and try to poke you and pop your bubble and make you think you're crazy, you know who they are. They've always been there. And there's more that you'll encounter. Build your strength, again, not against them so much, but as to defend yourself from their insecurities, their pain and suffering, They want nothing more to sit down and cry in their beer with you and tell you how life sucks. Because they know that they're failing to be who they truly are. They're not going to admit it. I didn't want to admit it. I lived my life like that for a long time. And now, even in the midst of the experiences I'm going through now, I can still find the joy. I can still find peace. I can still find an ability to not attack illness, not attack what's happening to me as if it's something, a force that's, I have to fight. The human mind wants to do that. It wants to do that all the time. And then I have to come back into presence, just like you do, and say, no, dear one, that doesn't work. It never has. It's not that you're wrong. You just don't understand the higher level of consciousness. It doesn't make you wrong. It doesn't mean I don't love you. It just means that I see something far better in all of this. As painful as it is, as much suffering is occurring in this, somehow, some way, this is a beautiful message, not only for me, but all of humanity. So I encourage you, each one of you, to tap into that presence that you truly are, that I speak to every week. I know who you are. If I meet you on the street, we're going to laugh and joke just like we would. But here in this space, I want you to feel comfortable to know that that higher divine being that you are, that's who's welcome here. And honor that, please. Because in your honoring it, it becomes the one single cell looking for another single cell. It's the molecule of water looking for another molecule of water. And when we find it, we grow. We grow and we enable each other to tap into levels of ourselves that are so encouraging that it's hard to ever go back to who we used to be. I love you. I thank you. I embrace you. I embrace you with peace, light, and love. And know that all of us are going through this together. And I thank you for your support, not only to me, but to yourself for expressing, and to each other for expressing to them and inviting them into this beautiful heart resonance that we're truly building on a global scale. May your week be filled with magic. May your week be filled with joy. May your week be filled with visions of yourself that you never thought possible. And may they manifest. I love you. I thank you. I respect you. Nice to be here with you this morning. Thank you for all showing up. I did get to answer a couple of the questions on the side, but I'm with you always, and I support you in all your efforts and encourage you to really deepen into yourself and make choices, as Abraham says, from that non-physical perspective. I love that phrase this morning. Non-physical perspective. Till next week, enjoy life and be the beings in service that you really are. And if I can figure out how to get out of here, oh, there it is. I always do this. See, that's the third dimension. Does that. Gets us lost on the way out.